Nothing could ever make me feel more at home than being here among fellow professors, students, and members of academia. And a very special academia, more than 160 years old, with 300,000 alumni. Now, 2,000 PhD students, 13,000 graduates. The home of Presidents Sean Kelly, Garbal O'Donnell, and Patrick Hillary, where even President Michael Higgins had to lecture. But most of all, where James Joyce graduated. If you allow me, I feel at home. For many years, 46 years, university was not only the place I worked, but where I contacted and taught successive younger generations. It was and still remains the essential part of my long and yet always hopeful life. So there are no words to encompass the joy of sharing this moment with all of you. Hence, I would like to highlight the numerous Portuguese students, researchers, and professors who have been studying, working, and lecturing in Ireland. Some of them present here today, and among you, I salute the eminent Professor Filipe Ribeiro de Menezes. But still thinking of how important university was and is in my life, I would quote Joyce, of course, who wrote, "Every life is in many days, day after day. We walk through ourselves, meeting robbers, ghosts, giants, old men, young men, wives, widows, brothers-in-laws, but always ourselves, the same in university." Excellencies, on the 17th of December 1945, the Irish chargé d'affaires in Portugal, Cornelius Cremen, met the country's Prime Minister, dictator António Oliveira Salazar. Cremen presented the Portuguese dictator with a set of Irish coins with their beautiful and very distinctive animal designs. According to Cremen, Salazar viewed them with interest before asking what the unknown word common to all of them was error. Cremen explained the old and the present name of the country. Cremen's anecdote illustrates the state of relations between Ireland and Portugal midway through the 20th century. Ireland, a quarter of a century into its independence, was still learning to navigate the waterways of international diplomacy. Portugal, bruised by decades of internal turmoil, had, under Salazar, withdrawn into itself, with a dictator born in the 19th century. Neutrality in the Second World War brought our two countries together, but we still had everything to learn about each other, including shared beliefs, habits, and experiences. What we didn't realize was that this wasn't the process of discovery. Rather, it was a rediscovery of a common past, since forgotten. The truth is that over the centuries, contact between Portugal and Ireland has been intense. Our trading relationship dates back to the Middle Ages and grew stronger with the passing of time. despite political upheaval, was an impact of the Protestant Reformation. At times of Portuguese economic buoyancy, the number of Irish merchants in Lisbon swelled, as did those of others out to make a fortune or just a living in Portugal. This was the case as late as the 18th century, when huge flows of gold from Brazil turned the Portuguese capital into a cash-rich city. It wasn't just wealthy merchants who lived there. All manner of Irish men and women were present in Lisbon. Clerics, soldiers, sailors, tavern owners and shopkeepers, manual laborers, and those living on the edges of legality. Like the rest of Lisbon's population, these Irish residents were profoundly affected by the powerful earthquake which struck the city in November 1st, 1755. A British journal, the Gentleman's Magazine, claimed in December of that year that some 6,000 Irish Catholics had been living in Lisbon at the time of the earthquake. If the pursuit of wealth was one factor bringing Irish men and women to Portugal and its empire over the centuries, then religion was another. During the period of Habsburg domination of Portugal, 1580 till 1640, a number of religious establishments were set up in Lisbon, which over the next centuries would allow hundreds of Irish men and women to pursue their religious vocations. The Jesuit-run St. Patrick's College, Lisbon, founded in 1593, and the Dominican-run College of Corpo Santo and Convent of Bom Sucesso. These were an important part of the trans-European network of religious institutions, which allowed the Catholic Church to maintain a presence in Ireland. Nearly 500 priests were educated and ordained in Lisbon until the mid-19th century. Corpo Santo was referred to by the Portuguese as o Seminário dos Mártires, the Martyrs Seminary, because of the grim fate that awaited many of its graduates. The last of these institutions, the Convent of Bom Sucesso, closed only some years ago in 2016, although the school which developed alongside continues to operate. Nearby the Palace of Belém, the Presidential Palace. I must mention a third phenomenon that brought the Irish and Portuguese together, shaping our national outlooks and sensibilities. This is the experience of mass immigration in the 19th and 20th centuries, leading to the formation of important diasporas all over the world. We have all experienced the powerful mix of hope and despair that accompanies immigration, felt both by those who go and those who stay behind. Irish and Portuguese immigrants often lived side by side, facing the same challenges, overcoming the same prejudices, and affirming together their talents and their rights. Mass immigration provides a shared experience, social, economic, cultural, for Portuguese and Irish alike, from whose joint study, it seems to me, we have much to learn about ourselves. From this immense sea of humanity, spanning many centuries, I would like to acknowledge today one personality who perhaps more than anyone else symbolizes just how strong the links between our two countries were in the past. Daniel O'Daly, known in Portugal as Frei Domingos do Rosário. He was born in Kilsarken, Count Carrier, in 1595 and arrived in Lisbon in 1629 with permission from the Spanish king, Philip IV, to establish a college in this city, still, like the rest of Portugal and its empire, under Spanish rule. To O'Daly, we owe the establishment of Corpo Santo and Bom Sucesso. But what is extraordinary about him is the way his legacy was cemented after Portugal recovered its independence. He was a key player in the campaign to secure international recognition of Portugal's independent status, leading missions to England, France, and Rome. He enjoyed the full confidence of the Portuguese monarch, Dom João IV, who did not hesitate to confide in O'Daly his most intimate concerns. Over time, the factors which drew Irish men and women to Portugal disappeared. Portugal and its empire no longer represented an El Dorado for the Irish. Over the long 19th century, Ireland and Portugal drifted apart, driven now by very different concerns. It would take until Portugal's democratic revolution in 1974 and accession to the EC over a decade later for the process of mutual discovery, or better, rediscovery, to begin. And now we're living a new era, a new period, a new cycle of friendship, of alliance, of partnership. Focus on the future. Dear Rector, Excellencies, colleagues, friends, the gesture of the University College Dublin to confer me with an honorary Doctor of Laws deeply touches me. I'm truly grateful for the honorable distinction of this doctorate honoris causa, and I'm indebted to those who suggested and supported my nomination. I thank with emotion the generous and eloquent words that we have heard here today dedicated to me. This homage goes beyond one's honor and mainly aims to reinforce the building of the democratic Portuguese state. I thank you profoundly for this celebration, and I want to dedicate it, with your permission, to Portugal and the Portuguese people. Thank you very much.